Chapter 1725, Blood Cloud Palace. Chapter 1725, Blood Cloud Palace. Jian Wushuang and his show appeared in a gorgeous and brilliant Milky Way. This is the Milky Way, and this is the base of the lineage of star. Jian Wushuang brought his show along with him and walked in the stretch of Milky Way slowly. Along the way, he introduced the lineage of star to his show continuously. As his show listened, he became extremely shocked. Previously, he had grown up in the holy kingdom of real Wushu. Although he had heard of the 10 sanctuaries, he had never really gone there before. It was not until then that he knew how prosperous the 10 sanctuaries were, and a holy kingdom could not be compared to them. For example, the lineage of star was a huge monster to him, and it was many times bigger and more powerful than the holy kingdom of real Wushu that he had been in previously. As Jian Wushuang introduced the lineage of star, he also sighed with emotion. It should be known that tens of thousands of years ago, when Lei Chao had brought him to the lineage of star for the first time, his expression had been the same as Hishio's. In a flash, tens of thousands of years had passed. At that moment, he was one of the hall masters of the lineage of star, and he was known for his mighty name in the eternal chaotic world. As for Hishio, it was also unknown what he would become tens of thousands of years later. In no time, Jian Wushuang brought Hishio along with him and entered the base of the lineage of star for real. They then walked around randomly amidst the group of buildings. Along the way, they came across quite a number of experts, of disciples of the lineage of star. When those people saw Jian Wushuang, they became extremely respectful. That's Hall Master Wushuang, the most impressive genius in the whole history of the lineage of star. Although Hall Master Wushuang is not an almighty, he is still superior to almighties. On the real God ranking list, he is ranked first. Some older disciples were giving some introductions or bragging to the new disciples. Of course, they also noticed the existence of Hishio. Who is that person? Hall Master Wushuang actually showed him the way personally. Even Star Palace disciples don't have the right for him to do that, right? This person should be Hall Master Wushuang's disciple. Disciple, at once, gazes which were filled with envy looked in the direction of Hishio. With Jian Wushuang's current abilities and position, there were many disciples in the eternal chaotic world who were fighting to get him to be their master. However, they did not have the luck for that to happen. In spite of that, Hishio still became his disciple. As such, everyone else was jealous of him. Jian Wushuang brought Hishio with him and walked randomly around the lineage of star. During the walk, he gave some simple explanations regarding some of the places of opportunities as well as their uses. After that, he brought Hishio with him and came to the cave that Hall Master Yuan lived in. Jian Wushuang, how did it go with the divine pond of absolute beginning? Hall Master Yuan questioned straight away when he saw Jian Wushuang. Originally, it was very smooth. However, some changes occurred later on. Jian Wushuang gave a simple explanation as to what had happened to the divine pond of absolute beginning. Those dark powerhouses have actually set their eyes on the divine pond of absolute beginning. Hall Master Yuan's eyes squinted. What a pity! If you were given a longer period of time, your abilities would have risen greatly again. It's indeed a pity. Jian Wushuang laughed helplessly. This little kid beside you is... Hall Master Yuan glanced at Hishio. This is a little kid who I came across during my journey. He is called Hishio, and he is now my registered disciple, Jian Wushuang said. Oh. Hall Master Yuan's eyes brightened. He knew about Jian Wushuang's abilities. For someone to catch the eyes of Jian Wushuang and be accepted as his disciple, even if he were just a registered disciple, he would definitely be not too bad. I am He Xiu. Greetings to Hall Master Yuan. He Xiu greeted him respectfully. This little kid's talents are not too bad, and he has already comprehended a small bit of the power of destruction. As for abilities, he should be able to get into the top 50 of the Universe God ranking list, Jian Wushuang said. Top 50? Not bad, not bad. Hall Master Yuan was beaming with joy. It should be known that not just anyone could get into the Universe God ranking list. Although the lineage of Star had genius disciples in the Universe God ranking list, there were so few of them that it was pathetic. For example, when Jian Wushuang was still a Universe God, excluding Jian Wushuang himself, there were only 2 other geniuses who were in the Universe God ranking list in the lineage of Star. Moreover, the 2 people did not have very high rankings. As for He Xiu, he already possessed the fighting capabilities to get into the top 50 of the Universe God ranking list when he had only just entered the lineage of Star. After training for a period of time with the aid of the lineage of Star's resources, he would definitely be able to get into the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list. Although his future could not be compared to Jian Wushuang's, there was still a very high possibility of him becoming a top chaotic real god. Such a kind of genius was exactly what the lineage of Star had been looking for. The lineage of Star's rules are strict. Although you are Hall Master Wushuang's disciple, the rules cannot be changed. Hence, you are currently a normal disciple of the lineage of Star. In no time, there will be a battle to become a disciple of the Star Palace. Then, if you were to perform well, you could become a Star Palace disciple and obtain even more resources, Hall Master Yuan said. I understand. He Xiu nodded his head. All right, let me first get someone to bring you around. Hall Master Yuan instructed an elder to bring He Xiu around personally at once. After He Xiu left, only Jian Wushuang and Hall Master Yuan remained in the cave. Hall Master Yuan, this time around, I obtained a special item from the outside. Can you help me take a look and tell me what it is? Jian Wushuang took out the jade sword. After Hall Master Yuan received the jade sword, he played with it in his hands for a while, and his expression turned grave gradually. Jian Wushuang, where did you get this jade sword? Hall Master Yuan questioned. Upon seeing Hall Master Yuan's expression, Jian Wushuang understood that Hall Master Yuan already knew about the jade sword's origin. This jade sword was given to me by He Xia. Jian Wushuang gave an explanation regarding how the jade sword came about, as well as his experience in the Yuming Mountain. Sir God Danhong? It's actually Sir God Danhong's cave. Hall Master Yuan was shocked. Hall Master Yuan, could it be that you do not know about the appearance of Sir God Danhong's cave? Jian Wushuang was baffled. Of course I don't know. Hall Master Yuan shook his head and laughed. Jian Wushuang, since you have joined the Sanctuary Alliance, you probably do not have a good understanding of some matters in the higher-ups of the Sanctuary Alliance. The higher-ups of the Sanctuary Alliance refers to a group of almighties, and there are social circles within them. For example, experts who travel alone have a social circle with other experts who travel alone. As for people like us who come from powerhouses, we have our own social circle as well. For Sir God Danhong's cave appearing in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, which is outside the sanctuaries, perhaps some of the almighties in the Sanctuary Alliance have already known about it. However, they will not spread this piece of news intentionally. Moreover, Sir God Luin has definitely come by to talk to them. For you to be able to get this piece of news from Sir God Mad Dog, it's also thanks to luck. Jian Wushuang could not help laughing. Indeed, if not for Sir God Mad Dog, he would also not know about the Tai Ching ancient panaceas. Sir God Mad Dog was an expert who traveled alone. Moreover, he was extremely strange. Hence, there were many ways for him to obtain information. Then this jade sword is... Jian Wushuang looked at Hall Master Yuan. If I am not wrong, this jade sword should be one of the keepsakes of the Blood Cloud Palace, Hall Master Yuan said earnestly. Chapter 1726, The First Era. Chapter 1726, The First Era. Blood Cloud Palace. Jian Wushuang was confused. Blood Cloud Palace is a special place in the third lair, Hall Master Yuan explained. In the 8th lair, the 6th, 7th, and 8th lair are ordinary. The biggest threat derives from Star Demon Clan. However, besides the 3 lairs, the remaining 5 lairs are battlefields left behind from the First Era or ancient times. Not only are there star demons, but there are also various dangers. Where there's danger, there are, of course, opportunities. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew the 8th lair to a certain extent. He also knew that besides the lair of Star Demon Clan, the 8 lairs were huge battlefields. The battlefields were segregated into 2 kinds. One was a battlefield from ancient times, which was of a higher level, also most mysterious. Among the 8 lairs, it was said that only the first lair was the true battlefield left from ancient times. As for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th lairs, they were battlefields left from the First Era. The so-called First Era was a new era after ancient times ended. Ancient God Emperor, who was supreme in ancient God tribe, was a super expert that was famous during the First Era. However, the First Era didn't last long because it was destroyed after a huge war. Then, the Second Era started, which was the eternal chaotic world that Jian Wushuang was currently in. Ancient times, First Era, Second Era. 3 different eras, but ancient times was the strongest. The First Era is far behind compared to ancient times, but it is also far stronger than the current eternal chaotic world, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. He knew that the universe that he was in, as they reproduced, and as the time flew past, the overall power of cultivators was sliding down, and sliding down massively. In ancient times, it would have been prosperous. There were countless experts. Whichever one would be a supreme existence in the current era. There were even rumors in eternal chaotic world that said an emperor god was nothing back in ancient times. Jian Wushuang was once in the independent space. He had seen a painting of war in ancient times before Long Qi's master's coffin. The painting showed clearly how scary the experts in the war were. The First Era, although it wasn't as strong as in ancient times, had also given birth to a 10-star ancient god, superb expert, like ancient god emperor. However, in eternal chaotic world, also during the Second Era, forget about experts who could be compared favorably with those in ancient times. Even experts like ancient god emperor didn't exist. The strongest in the current era was Great Emperor. It was widely acknowledged. It was because the ancient times and the First Era were much stronger than the current era. The battlefield that they had left behind was so attractive to the experts in eternal chaotic world. Many Almighties opted to wander in the 2nd to the 5th lair. It wasn't because they wanted to hunt the star demons, but because they were going for the battlefield from the First Era. They were going for the opportunities on the battlefield. In the 3rd lair, there were many special places. There are 4 most famous places, and Blood Cloud Palace is one of them. Blood Cloud Palace was left behind by a strong Great Emperor in the First Era. The Great Emperor could be in the top 3 among all expert of Great Emperor level in the First Era. In the current eternal chaotic world, there shouldn't be anyone who could match him. In the Blood Cloud Palace that he left behind, there are great opportunities. However, Blood Cloud Palace will only open once in a very long time. Every time it opens, only one with a designated token can enter, and that's what this jade sword is. It is said that the token for Blood Cloud Palace are 10 jade swords. There is a total of 6 unearthed jade swords, and there are 4 that have yet to be found. I never expected Sir God Dan Hong, who passed away so long ago, to have had one of the jade swords and been hiding it. Hall, Master Yuan sighed. Jian Wushuang heard, and he was complimenting in silence. From Hall Master Yuan's story, Jian Wushuang could tell the value of the jade sword. It was a palace left behind by a top great emperor from the First Era. The value should be unbelievably high if even a great emperor would be tempted. Although the jade sword was merely a token, it was priceless. If he were to take it out, it might stir up a crazy fight among all almighties. Jian Wushuang had only received such a treasure out of sheer luck. Hall Master Yuan, when will be the next time Blood Cloud Palace opens? Jian Wushuang asked. I happen to know, but it's a pity as it is a long wait for you, Hall Master Yuan said. How long exactly? Jian Wushuang asked closely. 8 million years. Hall Master Yuan answered. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Ever since he was born and had started cultivation, it had only been tens of thousands of years. The next opening would be another 8 million years. Maybe to other almighties, 8 million years was nothing, as many almighties could live for very long, far longer than 8 million years. However, to Jian Wushuang, it was really a long wait. Jian Wushuang, although you can't use the jade sword for now, it is priceless. Keep it carefully. Who knows when you might need to use it, Hall Master Yuan said. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly. He then put the jade sword in his Qiankuan ring and intentionally put it in an obvious spot. After Jian Wushuang left from Hall Master Yuan's place, he returned to his sword star. In the secret room, Jian Wushuang sat down. There was a jade bottle floating in front of his face. In the jade bottle, there were elixirs that make one's mouth water. There was a total of 9. Jian Wushuang poured 1 Tai Ching ancient panacea out from the bottle. He then consumed it without hesitation. The moment the elixir entered his body, it instantly turned into billowing divine power that Jian Wushuang absorbed and transformed. The speed of absorption and transformation was shockingly fast. 3 days later, in Jian Wushuang's body, the 89th drop of ultimate divine power droplets precipitated, and he expended less than half of the divine power in the Tai Ching Ancient Panacea. Tai Ching Ancient Panacea lives up to its name. This elixir is so efficient. Jian Wushuang was beaming with joy. With less than half the elixir, he had already precipitated the 89th drop of ultimate divine power droplet. If he were to absorb the Tai Ching Ancient Panacea fully, Jian Wushuang reckoned he should be able to precipitate the 90th ultimate divine power droplet. And he had a total of 9 Tai Ching Ancient Panaceas. Although it is said that it will be more difficult in the later stages of precipitating ultimate divine power droplets, I have 9 Tai Ching Ancient Panaceas. Even if I can't reach the extreme limit of my divine power, I reckon I shouldn't be too far away from it. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. With anticipation, he continued to absorb the elixir. Chapter 1727, Made a Move. Chapter 1727, Made a Move. In a lofty black divine hall in a vast dark land, under the protection of many guards which were covered in dim light, a black-robed figure knelt down respectfully and handed a token over. Lord, this is the assassination plan for Jian Wushuang. If the plan is carried out, the success rate will definitely be higher than 90%, the black-robed figure said respectfully. The lofty, dark divine hall became quiet for a long time. Finally, this plan will expose quite a number of things. However, if we are able to kill Jian Wushuang, it will be worth it. Go ahead. A gloomy and hoarse voice could be heard from all directions. It was obvious that the Lord had already approved of the plan. The black-robed figure was extremely delighted, and he started to put the plan into effect. For the 8 layers, the lower the number of the layer, the more dangerous it was. For the first layer to the 5th layer, only Almighties dared to travel there. As for the 6th layer, normally real gods traveled there. However, for real gods who dared to travel in the 6th layer, they would possess fighting capabilities that allowed them to get into the real god ranking list at the very least. Just then, at the core region of the 6th layer, an emaciated figure, which was covered in a crimson robe, was hidden in the void. Under the crimson hood, a pair of strange gray eyes were revealed, and they were looking at the front. At the end of his sight, there was a figure. It was a handsome man who wore a loose and long robe. He was moving forward slowly. His expression was cold, and his eyes looked around the surroundings from time to time. He was extremely vigilant. However, although the handsome man was extremely vigilant, he did not notice the crimson-robed man who was behind him. That's Lei Chao of the lineage of Star. He is only ranked 27th in the real god ranking list. However, he still dares to travel in the core region of the 6th layer alone. He is really quite daring. However, it's a pity that you are someone from the lineage of Star. Moreover, your relationship with Jian Wushuang is not too bad. Hence, I can only say that I'm sorry. While wearing a cold smile, the crimson-robed man approached Lei Chao slowly. In a secret room in the sword star of the lineage of Star, Jian Wushuang had sat down with his legs crossed to train for 3 months. During the 3 months, he had completely absorbed the divine power in the 9 Tai Ching ancient panaceas. After absorbing all the divine power completely, Jian Wushuang had a puzzled expression. In his body, there were ultimate divine power water droplets floating about. By counting them, there was a total of 90 droplets of ultimate divine power. That's right, there were 99 droplets, and he was only 1 droplet away from the 100 ultimate divine power water droplets needed to make a breakthrough to stage 3 ultimate real god. Moreover, for the last droplet, he had accumulated quite a great portion of it, and only a small portion was left. It was just a little bit more. He was just 1 step away from precipitating the 100th droplet of ultimate divine power. In the end, it is still lacking slightly, Jian Wushuang murmured. Although he felt that it was a pity, he was not too concerned. After all, the effects of the 9 Tai Ching ancient panaceas had already exceeded his expectations. The current him only lacked a small portion of divine power. For this small portion of divine power, he did not need any opportunities. By just relying on his own training or absorbing the demon cores that he had obtained back then, he would probably be able to make a breakthrough. 1,000 years! Jian Wushuang clenched both his fists tightly, and his eyes glowed brilliantly. For the current him, by relying on the Hongjun golden swords, as well as the many unique skills and secret skills of the ancient god, he could gain a firm foothold among the Sir Gods, and he was very close to the top. However, if he were able to take another step forward and achieve stage 3 ultimate real god, his divine power and body would achieve the level of an emperor god. By then, his abilities as a whole would rise greatly. I cannot rush. I must take it slow and go with the flow. Jian Wushuang laughed. After that, he walked out of the secret room. After walking out of the secret room, Jian Wushuang got the news that Elder Wuliang had come. Moreover, he had also been waiting for him in the Sword Star for quite a few days. Within a lofty hall, Elder Wuliang, Jian Wushuang wore a smile and walked toward Elder Wuliang. Hall Master Wushuang, Elder Wuliang was filled with respect. However, he also had mixed feelings. It should be known that thousands of years ago, he had invited Jian Wushuang to help them to hunt down real god Shiju. As for Jian Wushuang, after he had obtained the token of the fairy palace's legacy from real god Shiju, he joined the sanctuary alliance officially. After that, in a short thousands of years, he had risen greatly. To date, Jian Wushuang could compete against an almighty, and he was one of the hall masters of the lineage of Star. Hence, Jian Wushuang was an existence that he looked up to. Elder Wu Liang, since you have come to look for me, is there something wrong? Jian Wushuang questioned while laughing. There's a matter, and it is related to you, Elder Wu Liang said. Oh. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. It's like this. A few days ago, someone from the Parting Hatred Island sent a message over saying that a cultivator from the lineage of Star had been captured by them after killing their disciples. At present, she is being imprisoned in the Parting Hatred Island. After taking into account the fact that she is from the lineage of Star, they did not kill her on the spot. Instead, they wanted to have a discussion with the lineage of Star with regards to how to resolve the problem. Elder Wu Liang said. Just like that, Jian Wushuang had a perplexed expression. This should be a small matter that was too insignificant to mention. Hence, wouldn't it be insufficient to make him feel alarmed? Could it be that the cultivator is someone who I know? Jian Wushuang questioned. That's right. She's called Qiuyu, and she is your maid, Elder Wu Liang said. Jian Wushuang's expression changed at once. Qiuyu. She was the housekeeper of the Sword Star. As Jian Wushuang had always been traveling outside, Qiuyu had been in charge of taking care of the Sword Star. Qiuyu had always been loyal to Jian Wushuang. As such, Jian Wushuang was not stingy, and he had given her quite a lot of training resources. Moreover, not long ago, Qiuyu had gone out to train as she had encountered a bottleneck, and, to date, she had still not returned. However, who could have known that Qiuyu had actually been captured by the Parting Hatred Island? Elder Wu Liang, what is the background of the Parting Hatred Island? Jian Wushuang questioned. He had some understanding of some extremely powerful big powerhouses and big sects within the Sanctuary Alliance. However, he had never heard of the Parting Hatred Island. The Parting Hatred Island is a powerhouse within the Purple Moon Sanctuary. However, it is not considered a big powerhouse. Within the Parting Hatred Island, there is not even one Almighty, and it cannot be compared to the lineage of Star, Elder Wu Liang said. However, the Parting Hatred Island is not in the Star Land. Moreover, Qiuyu, who has been captured, is not a disciple of the lineage of Star. Instead, she is a normal cultivator. Thus, the Parting Hatred Island had the guts to capture her, and they even sent a message over saying that they will give her a small punishment. Jian Wushuang understood. If it were a disciple of the lineage of Star or a genius disciple of the Star Palace, the Parting Hatred Island would not have the guts to punish him. However, Qiuyu was merely a maid, and her position was considered extremely low in the lineage of Star. Therefore, the Parting Hatred Island naturally dared to punish her. Elder Wu Liang, did you find out why Qiuyu wanted to kill the disciples of the Parting Hatred Island? Jian Wushuang questioned. I have found out about it. It's because of the fact that a universe god in the Parting Hatred Island is her sworn enemy. She once had an older brother who died at the hands of that universe god in the Parting Hatred Island. As such, Qiuyu took action against them. However, it's a pity that she was captured by the experts of the Parting Hatred Island before she was able to kill the universe god, Elder Wu Liang said. Chapter 1728, Parting Hatred Island. Chapter 1728, Parting Hatred Island. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. This girl, why didn't she tell me she was in trouble? Qiuyu was Jian Wushuang's maidservant, and she had Jian Wushuang's communication token. During the time she was training, Jian Wushuang would send her messages to ask about her progress occasionally. You could totally send him a message about what happened or just use his name when she was caught in Parting Hatred Island. Then, Parting Hatred Island wouldn't dare to do anything. However, Yu didn't. She had only said that she was from lineage of Star. Elder Wu Liang, please send a message to Parting Hatred Island. Tell them that lineage of Star will send an expert over to discuss it. Tell them to not touch a single strand of Yu's hair before the expert from lineage of Star arrive. Jian Wushuang said. All right, as long as we of lineage of Star command it, Parting Hatred Island won't have the guts to lay a finger on Yu. Elder Wu Liang smiled. Oh, yeah, why don't I send a deacon elderly over to take care of this? Or I'll head over myself. It's all right. Jian Wushuang shook his head. I'll go. You'll go. Elder Wu Liang stared. Parting Hatred Island wasn't a great force within Purple Moon Sanctuary. They merely had two chaotic real gods. Lineage of Star could send any deacon elderly over and bring Yu back easily. Jian Wushuang was in such a distinguished position. Go and send the message. I'll depart now. Jian Wushuang didn't delay, but departed in the direction of the Parting Hatred Island sect. On the other hand, Elder Wu Liang sent a message to Parting Hatred Island as instructed by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang only took a few days' time to reach Parting Hatred Island via wormhole. This is Parting Hatred Island. Jian Wushuang overlooked a huge island covered by a formation. Even though it was only a second-grade force in the 10 sanctuaries, the sect looked quite dignified. Jian Wushuang's body turned illusionary and appeared before Parting Hatred Island's entrance. There were a few disciples guarding at the entrance. Please report to your higher-ups that Jian Wushuang from Lineage of Star is here to visit. Jian Wushuang smiled. Please hang on a moment. The registered disciples of Parting Hatred Island were only universe gods. They weren't experienced, and they had never heard of Jian Wushuang's name. However, they should be able to tell that Jian Wushuang was a real god. As a real god came to visit personally, they couldn't behave sloppily and immediately went into the island to report. Jian Wushuang wasn't in a hurry and was waiting patiently at the entrance. With his power, he could totally barge into Parting Hatred Island and bring Yu away forcibly. The experts in Parting Hatred Island definitely wouldn't dare to say a word. After all, Jian Wushuang was from Lineage of Star, and he had to keep Lineage of Star's reputation and appearance. Lineage of Star wasn't barbaric like Soaring Heaven King Palace. In Parting Hatred Island, an elderly in a red robe was casually walking around. Greetings, Elder, the registered disciple who walked past bowed politely at him. The elderly in a red robe nodded faintly, and he was happy. Just then, the disciple who came in to report sped past. When he saw the elderly in a red robe, he quickly moved over. Elder Dong, there's a mister outside who said that he is here to visit. The disciple was polite. Mister, the elderly in a red robe looked at the disciple. He is a real god, and he said that he is from Lineage of Star. His name is Jian Wushuang. I think, the disciple said. Who you said? At first, the elderly in a red robe was very calm, but his eyes suddenly shot open, and his voice became excited. Are you sure you didn't hear wrongly? Is he really Jian Wushuang? Yes, I'm sure. The disciple was shocked, but he replied determinedly. The elderly in a red robe immediately gasped a breath of cold air and muttered, There are countless cultivators in eternal chaotic world, and there are also many named Jian Wushuang. However, a Jian Wushuang from Lineage of Star, there's only one. It's that monster. The elderly in a red robe looked terrified. "Quick, follow me to welcome him." "Yes," the disciples immediately nodded. "Hold on." The elderly in a red robe suddenly paused. "Wait here. Let me inform the island master. We will all go to welcome him together when island master and the rest come." The elderly in a red robe knew clearly how big of a figure Jian Wushuang was. He had the fighting power of an almighty. Such a super expert had come to visit Parting Hatred Island. It was simply bringing radiance to their humble sect. He, of course, couldn't welcome such a great expert alone. As the elderly in a red robe reported the news, the entire Parting Hatred Island shook. The master of Parting Hatred Island, including the 3 vice masters and a bunch of experts on the island, came to welcome him all together. Outside the island, Jian Wushuang saw a huge crowd walking over after waiting for a while. There were at least 20 to 30 of them, and they were all real gods. The one leading them was, of course, the master of Parting Hatred Island. Such a big crowd. Jian Wushuang smiled, but he wasn't surprised. The crowd came before Jian Wushuang very quickly. "Master of Parting Hatred Island greets Mr. Jian Wushuang." The master of Parting Hatred Island bowed politely. The real gods behind him greeted and bowed at Jian Wushuang politely to show their respect. "You are too courteous," Jian Wushuang smiled. "Mr. Jian Wushuang, follow me into the island, and we can talk," the master of Parting Hatred Island invited. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then he entered Parting Hatred Island under the lead of the master of Parting Hatred Island himself. As they walked in, the experts in Parting Hatred Island lifted their head to steal glances at Jian Wushuang. There was excitement and reverence in their eyes. As for Jian Wushuang, they had heard long ago that he had fought with Soaring Heaven King Palace in the 8th layer, and they had suffered a great loss. He had even inflicted a severe injury on Sir God Qianlan from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Besides, during the battle, Jian Wushuang killed many top chaotic real gods from Soaring Heaven King Palace. To Parting Hatred Island, any top chaotic real god wasn't one that they could offend easily. However, Jian Wushuang had massacred top chaotic real gods, like he was slaughtering chickens. Such a superb existence could destroy Parting Hatred Island countless times with a wave. Very soon, Jian Wushuang arrived in the discussion hall of Parting Hatred Island. At the highest position of the hall, he sat side by side with the master of Parting Hatred Island. The master of Parting Hatred Island might even be slightly lower. "Mr. Jian Wushuang, I wonder what's the purpose of your visit to Parting Hatred Island?" The master of Parting Hatred Island asked politely. "I really came for a purpose." Jian Wushuang smiled. "Not long ago, there was someone from Lineage of Star that killed a few disciples of Parting Hatred Island. Now, she is held by the experts of Parting Hatred Island and imprisoned in Parting Hatred Island. I came here today for her." Jian Wushuang expressed his intention straightforwardly. Chapter 1729, Jian Wushuang's Maid. Chapter 1729, Jian Wushuang's Maid. After knowing Jian Wushuang's objective for coming, the experts in the Parting Hatred Island had puzzled expressions. "How can I not know that my Parting Hatred Island imprisoned someone from the Lineage of Star? Elderly Yun, what's going on?" The Parting Hatred Island master's eyes turned cold, and he looked at the red-robed old man known as Li Yun. Although he was the island master, he had left most of the small matters in the Parting Hatred Island to Li Yun. For example, he indeed had no idea of the matter this time around. "Island master, there is indeed such a matter. However, I did an investigation previously. That woman is merely a normal maid of the Lineage of Star. However, she has killed quite a number of the Parting Hatred Island's disciples. Hence, I got people to capture her, and I also sent a message to the lineage of Star to discuss this matter together. Li Yun broke out in a cold sweat. Previously, he had gotten the news that an expert from the lineage of Star would come over to discuss about this matter. However, he totally did not expect that the person who would come from the lineage of Star would be Jian Wushuang. That woman is a maid under me. Moreover, she is a maid who I like the most, Jian Wushuang said bluntly. Upon hearing that, the expressions of many experts of the Parting Hatred Island, as well Li Yun, changed greatly. They could not care less if it were a normal maid from the lineage of Star. However, what if it were Jian Wushuang's maid? Moreover, if it was a maid who he liked the most, then it would be different. Lord Jian Wushuang. The Parting Hatred Island master stood up and said straight away, "Lord, please forgive us for our crime." The Parting Hatred Island did not know about the relationship between that woman and the Lord in advance. If I'd known, even if I were able to pluck up even more courage, I would definitely not dare to make things difficult for her. Yes, my lord. Back then, when we captured that woman, she only said that she was a maid of the lineage of Star, and she did not reveal her relationship to you. Li Yun said immediately. For this matter, they indeed had had no idea about it. It's all right. Jian Wushuang waved his hands. Please bring her over first. Get down to it right away. The Parting Hatred Island master shot a glance toward Li Yun. Understood. Li Yun left immediately. Lord Jian Wushuang, for this matter, the Parting Hatred Island master still wanted to say something. Let's continue talking after she comes. Jian Wushuang said indifferently. Upon seeing that, the Parting Hatred Island master stopped speaking, and he could only wait quietly at his position. Within the Parting Hatred Island, there was a lofty palace. The palace was the law enforcement hall of the Parting Hatred Island. For an expert or disciple who had committed a crime within the Parting Hatred Island or had caused some trouble outside, he would be sent to the law enforcement hall for his punishment. In a secret room in the inner part of the law enforcement hall, at the center of the secret room, was a seal. Within the seal, a beautiful woman with a great figure was sitting down with her legs crossed. The beautiful woman was Jian Wushuang's maid, Qiu. At present, Qiu's expression was a bit pale, and her aura was weak. She was in quite a miserable state. In front of the seal, there was a chair. In the chair sat a young man who wore a luxurious long robe with a jade-like face, and one of his legs was stuck over the other. As he looked at Qiu, who was inside the seal, his eyes were filled with relish. Hee, I did not expect that piece of trash who died back then to have such a good little sister. Not only are you pretty, your talents are also not too bad. However, it's a pity that you are still a bit lacking. If you were a bit stronger, you might have been able to take revenge for that trashy brother of yours. Qiu's icy cold eyes were staring at the young man, and she was filled with dissatisfaction. Just a bit more, and she would have been able to kill the person in front of her and gotten revenge for her brother. Why? Are you dissatisfied? The young man laughed evilly. No matter how dissatisfied you are, it's useless. You will never have a chance again. Although you are someone from the lineage of Star, you are still a normal maid in the end. Since your position is too low, the lineage of Star will absolutely not care about your fate. The Parting Hatred Island has merely sent the lineage of Star a message to find a way out of their situation. After that, even if the Parting Hatred Island were to kill you, the lineage of Star would not say anything. Hence, you're dead. Moreover, I would kill you personally. You would look on as I stab my saber into your heart. There would not be any room for you to struggle. The young man's voice echoed within the secret room repeatedly. Upon hearing that, Chiu Yu, who was in the seal, laughed coldly, and her eyes were filled with disdain. Although she was currently captured alive by the Parting Hatred Island, she knew that the Parting Hatred Island would definitely not kill her. The reason being that her master was Jian Wushuang. With such an identity, the lineage of Star would absolutely not leave her alone. Why? Even though you are already in such a situation, do you think that you will be able to continue living? The young man swept his eyes over Chiu Yu with ridicule. However, just then, the big door of the secret room opened abruptly. After that, escorted by some disciples, the red-robed old man, Li Yun, walked inside anxiously. "Elder Li Yun, why have you come?" The young man stood up immediately and revealed a friendly smile. He was completely different from before. Upon seeing the young man in front, Li Yun became filled with anger, and he swung his hand fiercely. Slap! A clear, melodious sound of a slap could be heard. The young man spit out a mouthful of blood at once, and his body was sent flying ruthlessly. "Damn little kid," Li Yun scolded with a low voice. He was too lazy to take another glance at that young man, and he walked straight to the front of the seal. The flames of fury that Li Yun originally had became non-existent, and he revealed a gentle smile. "Miss Chiu Yu, please leave with me." "Where are we going?" Chiu Yu asked. "To the big hall. Lord Jian Wushuang is waiting for you there," Li Yun said. "Master?" Chiu Yu's body shook at once. "Master has actually come himself." In no time, Li Yun got rid of the seal and showed Chiu Yu to the big hall. At the same time, he looked at the astonished young man who was hiding at the corner of the wall again. "Emo Tao, follow us as well. This matter happened because of you. Now that you have caused trouble, don't think that we will let you off with just a slap." Before the young man Emoten could even say anything, he was taken away by two disciples of the Parting Hatred Island forcibly, and they headed to the big hall together. In the big hall, Jian Wushuang and the Parting Hatred Island master were sitting at its highest point, and they were looking at Chiu Yu, Emo Tao, and the few people who walked in. "Master," Chiu Yu greeted Jian Wushuang immediately, and she had mixed feelings. She did not send a rescue message to Jian Wushuang at the start, as she did not want to disturb him. After all, she was just a lowly maid. Moreover, she had merely provoked the Parting Hatred sect, and it was a small matter that was too insignificant to be brought up. Hence, it could be resolved with the lineage of stars showing themselves. However, Chiu Yu did not expect Jian Wushuang to come personally. As Jian Wushuang looked at Chiu Yu, his eyes turned grave. It was not because of the fact that he had seen Chiu Yu's injuries. Instead, it was because of the fact that he had seen the aura that she was emitting. Her aura had achieved the level of a real god. Chapter 1730, Ask for Help. Chapter 1730, Ask for Help. Break through. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Previously, Chiu Yu went out for training in order to break through and become real god. Then, she really broke through. In actual fact, it was fortunate that Chiu Yu broke through and became a real god, and that Parting Hatred Island had scruples. If Chiu Yu were to only be a universe god, and as she was only a maidservant, Parting Hatred Island would have killed her long ago. "There's an elixir here. Eat it and rest up by the side." Jian Wushuang waved and passed her an elixir. The elixir wasn't cheap, and it was for a Sir God to recover from injury. Chiu Yu took the elixir and consumed it immediately. Then she walked to the side, obediently. There were immediately experts from Parting Hatred Island who gave her a seat. "Master of Parting Hatred Island, how many of your disciples did my maidservant kill?" Jian Wushuang asked casually. "Li Yun, the master of Parting Hatred Island, looked at Li Yun. Island Master, there were 6 disciples from Parting Hatred Island that had died at the hands of the lady. However, they were all ordinary disciples, and they were all universe gods, Li Yun answered. 6 deaths. Jian Wushuang heard, and he took out a Qian Kuan ring. I am not strict in discipline. There are treasures in Qian Kuan ring. Consider it an apology to Parting Hatred Island. How could we accept your apology? The master of Parting Hatred Island stood up hastily, but didn't dare to take the Qian Kuan ring. I told you to take it. Just take it, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Yes, the master of Parting Hatred Island nodded politely as he accepted the Qian Kuan ring. However, with no surprise. I, Jian Wushuang, have always been a clear-cut person. My maidservant killed your men in Parting Hatred Island, and I should apologize. Now that I have apologized, we should talk about the resentment between my maidservant and the disciples of Parting Hatred Island. Jian Wushuang's face grew cold. Every expert of Parting Hatred Island at the scene was stunned. They knew that Jian Wushuang wouldn't just let it slip and take the initiative to apologize. They guessed it. Then, Jian Wushuang wanted to clear the debt. Mr. Jian Wushuang, Mo Tao is here. You can go ahead and bring him along, the master of Parting Hatred Island said. The surrounding experts of Parting Hatred Island didn't hesitate either. At such a crucial moment, pushing their disciple just like that might not be appropriate. However, regardless of where one was in the world, they look at one's power. Jian Wushuang's power was proven. Forget about taking away one disciple who was only a universe god. Even if he were to kill 2 real gods on the spot, he definitely wouldn't dare to utter a single word. It's unnecessary for me to bring him straight away. It is merely a fight between the juniors. Lineage of Star isn't as barbaric as Soaring Heaven King Palace. Jian Wushuang smiled. How about this? As the 2 of them harbor deep hatred against one another, let them fight a life and death battle in Parting Hatred Island. Life and death battle. The experts in Parting Hatred Island were stunned. A life and death battle must be determined by life and death. As for who will be dead and who will be alive, that depends on their capabilities. Although Qiu Yu is my maidservant, I will have nothing to say, but I'd leave if she were to die at the hands of your disciple in Parting Hatred Island, Jian Wushuang said. I understand. Let's do as Mr. has suggested. The master of Parting Hatred Island nodded with a smile. However, Mo Tao, who was lying prostrate on the ground, was terrified. He shouted, No, Island Master. You can't let me fight a life and death battle with her. I am only a universe god, but she already broke through and became real god. This is unfair. This is an unfair battle. Mo Tao roared, but the surrounding crowd didn't do anything. They looked at him with pity. Unfair. Yes, the battle was really unfair. So what? In the world where was absolute fairness, everything was decided with power. Plus, Jian Wushuang was nice enough to give him a chance. If it was someone else, he would have been killed with one slap. The life and death battle started before long. Parting Hatred Island was at a disadvantageous position in the battle after all. So, the higher up in Parting Hatred Island didn't breathe a word of it to anyone, nor did many disciples watch the battle. The end result was that naturally there was no suspense. Qiu Yu's injury recovered after consuming the elixir that Jian Wushuang had given. She took out about 70% of her power. As for Mo Tao, he was only an ordinary universe god in the 3rd heaven, so he was naturally killed easily. When the dispute was settled, Mr. Jian Wushuang, I have already arranged a banquet for you. Would you like to stay and have a drink? The master of Parting Hatred Island was polite. Banquet? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. In front of the experts in Parting Hatred Island, she had killed the disciple of Parting Hatred Island. Not only did the experts on Parting Hatred Island not get angry, they were also courteous to him. They had even prepared a banquet for him. They obviously wanted to curry favor with him. Power, Jian Wushuang sighed. He knew clearly that it was because of his power. At first, Jian Wushuang didn't intend to reject him, but suddenly, Jian Wushuang, hurry up and come back. Something happened. Hall Master Yuan sent an urgent message. Jian Wushuang's face instantly grew grave. I appreciate Island Master's kindness, but I have other matters to attend to, and I shall not stay back, Jian Wushuang said. Then he didn't bother with the experts on Parting Hatred Island, and he immediately took Qiuyu with him and left. They didn't talk much on the way, and sped through the journey. Jian Wushuang arrived at Lineage of Star very soon. After he settled Qiuyu, Jian Wushuang immediately came to Hall Master Yuan's cave dwelling. He saw Hall Master Yuan, as well as Hall Master Guexian. Hall Master Yuan, Hall Master Guexian, what happened? Jian Wushuang asked. From the message that Hall Master Yuan sent, he could tell that there must be something major happening in Lineage of Star. Jian Wushuang, go through the message in this token. Hall Master Yuan passed Jian Wushuang a token. Jian Wushuang took it and briefly skimmed through it. Then his eyes shot wide open. The message in the token was a message asking for help. The message was sent by the one who had been wandering in the 6th lair all this while, Lei Chao. Back then, Lei Chao had guided Jian Wushuang to Lineage of Star personally. He had also taken care of Jian Wushuang when Jian Wushuang wasn't that powerful. Lei Chao was asking for help. Lei Chao, he is stuck in Buddhist Demon Sea. Jian Wushuang looked terrified. He was familiar with the 8th lair to a certain extent. He knew that there were places that were more dangerous and required more attention in every lair. Just like the dark regions in the 8th lair and the dark ravine in the 7th lair. He had looked into them carefully before. As for the 6th lair, he knew quite a bit about it. In the core of the 6th lair, even an expert on real God ranking list stood the possibility of passing when he wandered there. Besides, there were a few places that were full of danger that a real God definitely would die in if he barged in. Even to an almighty, it was dangerous. Among the few places, the one with the greatest reputation was Buddhist Demon Sea. Chapter 1731, The Fish Has Taken the Bait. Chapter 1731, The Fish Has Taken the Bait. The Buddhist Demon Sea was a forbidden area to real gods. Even among almighties, normal almighties would not dare to go in there easily. It was said that even emperor gods could be killed in the deepest part of the Buddhist Demon Sea. How can that be? Lei Chao has been traveling the 6th lair for so long, and it is not as if he does not know about the Buddhist Demon Sea. Why has he gone into the Buddhist Demon Sea? Jian Wushuang said, while frowning. Under normal circumstances, Lei Chao would definitely not go to the Buddhist Demon Sea. However, Lei Chao is being chased by someone, and he had no choice but to go in, Hall Master Yuan said. He is being chased by someone? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Who is it? Old Freak Sui Gu, an extremely powerful Sir God expert who is very ruthless, Hall Master Guexian said. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, Old Freak Sui Gu fought with the Lineage of Star head-on. At that time, Hall Master Shi Yun and I teamed up to go after him, and he almost died by our hands. Ever since that battle, this old bastard remained silent and laid low, and he never appeared again. However, who could expect that when he reappeared again, it would actually be in the 6th lair? Moreover, he came across Lei Chao by coincidence. If not for Lei Chao using the secret skill of Star Palace and the secret skill of dragon blood to the best of his abilities, there would probably not be an opportunity for him to escape into the Buddhist demon sea. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned grave. He had never heard of the old freak Sui Gu before. However, at that time, it was highly possible that Lei Chao had escaped into the Buddhist demon sea under his compulsion. After all, some Sir gods with weaker abilities would travel deep inside the sixth layer, and old freak Sui Gu was probably one of them. Moreover, it just so happened that he had a huge grudge against the lineage of Star. The Buddhist demon sea is unusually dangerous. With Lei Chao's abilities, under a condition where he has lost his 2 trump cards, secret skill of Star Palace and secret skill of Dragon Blood, there is a very low possibility of him surviving. However, fortunately, the space and time of the Buddhist demon sea are not completely separated from the outside world. Hence, he can ask for help, and the lineage of Star can still make it in time to save him, Hall Master Yuan said. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. It was lucky that Lei Chao was not killed by old freak Sui Gu straight away. Although he had entered the Buddhist demon sea, there was still a glimmer of hope for him. Lei Chao is an expert of the lineage of Star, and he has contributed greatly to the lineage of Star. Since there is a glimmer of hope, the lineage of Star will definitely do its best to save him. However, it's a pity that the palace master has secluded himself in training for the past few years as he is preparing for something, and he cannot show himself. Presently, Hall Master Shi Yun is traveling deep inside the 5th layer, and he is unable to come out at such short notice. Thus, I can only get the 2 of you to go there, Hall Master Yuan said. Leave it to us. Hall Master Gu Xen nodded her head. Back then, Lei Chao took very good care of me. Since something bad has happened to him now, I will do my best to rescue him, Jian Wushuang said earnestly. Go ahead. Remember to be extremely careful, Hall Master Yuan warned. Jian Wushuang and Hall Master Gu Xen looked at each other. After that, both of them set off immediately. The 2 of them did not lose any time. After entering the 6th layer, they traveled speedily and arrived outside the Buddhist demon sea in the shortest possible time. This is the Buddhist demon sea. Jian Wushuang was looking at a mysterious sea area which was completely shrouded in black and dense fog in front of him. Even though he had never entered the sea area, by just looking from the outside, Jian Wushuang felt terrified. Let's go in, Hall Master Gu Xen said. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate, and he entered the sea area with Hall Master Gu Xen right away. After entering the sea area, Jian Wushuang felt a strong corrosive power rushing toward him immediately. The corrosive power came from the black, dense fog which filled the air. What a strong corrosive power! Jian Wushuang revealed a shocked expression. He could feel how unreasonable the corrosive power was. Under such a corrosive power, a normal chaotic real god would probably not last very long, and they would die. Even top chaotic real gods would probably be unable to last for a long period of time. Although Lei Chao was an expert of the real god ranking list who ranked above 20, he would probably die in at most 100 years' time if he were to continue staying in the Buddhist demon sea. Jian Wushuang, as you are only a real god, are you able to withstand this corrosive power? Hall Master Gu Xen questioned. It would not be a problem for 1,000 years. However, if it were any longer than that, it would be hard to say, Jian Wushuang said. Then let's make the best use of our time, Hall Master Gu Xen said. The 2 of them flew toward the front immediately. While flying, Jian Wushuang took out his transmission token. Lei Chao, Hall Master Gu Xen, and I have arrived in the Buddhist demon sea. How are you now? Jian Wushuang questioned. Jian Wushuang, I'm sorry. Back then, I was unable to hurry back to participate in the banquet when you took on the role of a hall master. But now, I need you to come here to rescue me. Lei Chao was filled with regret. Let's not talk about that. How is your current situation? Roughly which direction are you in, and how long can you last? Jian Wushuang asked quickly. I was chased down by old freak Sui Gu, and I had no choice but to escape into the Buddhist demon sea. However, old freak Sui Gu also followed me in, and I could only continue to run. Since I was running away madly, I also had no idea where exactly I was. I only know that the place that I am at is a triangular island that is extremely huge, Lei Chao said. A gigantic and triangular island. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted, and he looked at Hall Master Guexan, who was beside him. Hall Master Guexan, do you know that the triangular island existed? I have no idea. Hall Master Guexan shook her head. The Buddhist demon sea is not normal, and among the whole Sanctuary Alliance, not many people have traveled inside before. Moreover, the terrain here is extremely peculiar, and probably no one knows where that triangular island is. This is going to be troublesome. Jian Wushuang's expression turned ugly. This was the most troublesome. Both Hall Master Guexan and him knew that Lei Chao was trapped in the Buddhist demon sea. They also knew that he was in a triangular island. However, since the Buddhist demon sea was so huge, who knew where the triangular island was? Moreover, they were also not certain of its direction. There were also no authenticating objects with them. Hence, they could only rely on luck to find Lei Chao. The environment of the Buddhist demon sea is peculiar. Although Lei Chao did not say much, I predict that he will probably be unable to last for long. Hence, we need to find him in the shortest possible time. Therefore, Hall Master Guexan, shall we split up? Jian Wushuang suggested. Split up. Hall Master Guexan frowned. However, she still nodded her head. Indeed, if the two of us were to split up, there would be a higher chance of us finding him. However, it would be more dangerous. Jian Wushuang, you really have to be careful. You too? Jian Wushuang looked at Hall Master Guexan. After that, the both of them split up inside the Buddhist demon sea right away. Although they had split up, they were in contact with each other at all times. At the same time as Jian Wushuang and Hall Master Guexan entered the Buddhist demon sea, in the inner part of the Buddhist demon sea, a figure who was covered in a crimson robe revealed a pair of strange gray eyes. Hee, the fish has taken the bait. Chapter 1732, Triangle Island. Chapter 1732, Triangle Island, Buddhist demon sea, at Hidden Void, where four figures in black robes stood side by side. There was a deep voice that was heard under the black robe. Just got an update. Jian Wushuang has already entered Buddhist demon sea, and Hall Master Guexan from Lineage of Star came in too, but they parted ways. Someone will take care of Hall Master Guexan. We can ignore her. Our target is the one and only Jian Wushuang. In order to kill Jian Wushuang, Acheron Palace is liberal with money. The four of us normally take action alone, but they gathered us here together. Plus, they are only launching the first of the 4 killer attacks now. From what I can see, the higher-ups look too highly upon Jian Wushuang. Although he is really talented, his power is barely at the level of a Sir God's. It is unnecessary to make such a great troop to kill him. For killer attacks, and that is only the first, he might not be able to dodge, or there might even not be necessary for the first attack. With the existence of natural danger in Buddhist demon sea itself, it will be sufficient to kill Jian Wushuang. The 4 of us arranged to only be involved in the 3rd attacks and above. I reckon we might not stand a chance to launch an attack. The The four of them chatted casually. As they chatted, they were absolutely confident. Acheron Palace wouldn't take action. If they did, the other party would stand almost no chance at all to flee. Then, Acheron Palace put great attention on Jian Wushuang and planned it meticulously. They had even prepared 4 killer attacks. Jian Wushuang was doomed. In the boundless dark sea, Jian Wushuang continued to plunge forward slowly as he looked around while he kept his guard up. Buddhist Demon Sea is extremely dangerous to Sir Gods. Although Lei Chao was chased after by old monster Sui Gu, and he ran to Buddhist Demon Sea helplessly, he definitely won't be too far in. He should still be at the border of Buddhist Demon Sea. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Buddhist Demon Sea. There was a difference between open sea and inland sea. Inland sea was more dangerous compared to open sea. What I can do now is search along the open sea and hope that I can find him, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. As long as he was on the open sea, Jian Wushuang stood a chance to save Lei Chao. If Lei Chao were to be at the inland sea, Jian Wushuang had no way at all. Jian Wushuang continued to plunge as he spread his soul power. However, his soul power was greatly restricted in Buddhist Demon Sea, and the coverage was less than 1/5 of his performance during his peak. Hence, the difficulty of searching had increased tremendously. 10 days after entering Buddhist Demon Sea, swoosh, Jian Wushuang's body suddenly stopped. He saw a crimson figure in the sea region before him in his sights. It was the size of a human body with a pair of hands and legs. Its skin was crimson, and there was an eye and a big mouth on its head. It was a star demon that could only be found in the 8th layer. However, the star demon in front of him, and was obviously much stronger than any star demons that Jian Wushuang had ever seen. On its head, there were 4 horns. 4-horned star demon. A star demon comparable to a human Sir God. As Jian Wushuang saw the star demon, its crimson eye looked at Jian Wushuang directly. Human, with boundless murderous intention in the voice of the star demon, it instantly charged forward in the next moment. Then, there was a great rage that soared up. Jian Wushuang's face grew solemn. He knew that there were star demons in Buddhist Demon Sea, and the power of the star demons were extremely strong overall. Such 4-horned star demon was common. Wow! The crimson light twinkled. Then, the 4-horned star demon suddenly appeared before Jian Wushuang. It waved its palm and clawed the sky. Not only the void was torn open, the dark sea underneath was greatly torn as well. Such intense speed. Jian Wushuang was surprised, and he quickly retreated. The sharp claw came to nothing, but it stirred up a violent storm and roaring waves in the sea below. Humph! Jian Wushuang humphed coldly. Then the 2 Hongjun golden swords appeared in front of him simultaneously and turned into 2 rays of golden flowing light that burst out. Swoosh! Swoosh! The ear-piercing, air-splitting noise spread. The 2 Hongjun golden swords appeared before the 4-horned star demon and instantly hit the 4-horned star demon. The Hongjun golden swords hit it brutally while 4-horned star demon swung its pair of arms with its all. Bang! 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 After the few clashes that only continued for 5 times, one of the 2 Hongjun golden swords pierced the 4-horned star demon's head at the 6th hit. Jian Wushuang took a leap and came in front of the 4-horned star demon. He waved and collected the demon core into his Qian Kuan ring. The 4-horned star demon should have just transformed not too long ago. Its power is comparable to the lowest level of Sir God, or maybe even lower. With my current power, it is quite easy to kill him, Jian Wushuang muttered. He wasn't like before. Among Sir Gods, he was definitely one of the stronger experts. However, the four-horned star demons had reminded Jian Wushuang to be more cautious. The time flew past, and 3 years passed in the blink on an eye. For 3 years, Jian Wushuang had continued to keep in contact with Lei Chao and Hall Master Guexian, but he had yet to find the Triangle Island that Lei Chao was at. They had no choice. Buddhist Demon Sea was extremely huge, and merely the open sea itself was spacious. A Sir God might not be able to search through the entire region in 1,000 years. Jian Wushuang and Hall Master Guexian knew the rough direction which Lei Chao had entered Buddhist Demon Sea in, and they got to minimize their search scope. However, it was still not easy to look for Lei Chao. In the boundless dark sea, Jian Wushuang was suddenly attracted by the miniature island in front of him. It was an ordinary island, and it wasn't huge. In the 3 years of Jian Wushuang's search in Buddhist Demon Sea, he couldn't keep count of how many similar islands he had passed by. Any island that he had passed before didn't catch his attention, only this did. That was because Jian Wushuang saw a big hole in the middle of the island. The big hole was obviously caused by a hit of divine power, and most importantly, the time that it was formed wasn't too far back. Buddhist Demon Sea, there is hardly anyone that comes in. It is even more impossible for there to be a battle. The hole on the island was definitely made when old monster Sui Gu chased after Lei Chao. Lei Chao is definitely near the island. Jian Wushuang was thrilled. He then started to search thoroughly near the island. The search continued for another 11 years. Finally, there was an extremely huge triangle island that appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Found it! Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. Chapter 1733, Between Life and Death. Chapter 1733, Between Life and Death. In the vast dark sea area, Jian Wushuang was floating amidst the dark, dense fog, and he was looking down at the gigantic triangular island in front of him. His expression turned grave slowly. He could see that the triangular island was engulfed by a dark storm. Within the dark storm, gusts of wind were blowing about like sharp blades, and the void was cut open like paper. Jian Wushuang also felt great danger from the dark storm. He then took out his token and sent a message to Lei Chao to ask him some questions. Lei Chao, I have already arrived at a triangular island. This island is engulfed in a dark storm. Are you inside this island? That's right. It's that place. Lei Chao replied immediately, I have been completely trapped by the dark storm, and I dare not move about randomly. It's all right if I'm correct. Please wait inside. I will go in and find you. After speaking, Jian Wushuang approached the triangular island slowly. This dark storm, as Jian Wushuang looked at the dark storm in front of him, he did not dare to underestimate the heartless sharp blades, which were blowing about in the slightest. All of a sudden, Jian Wushuang flipped his hands, and a purple saber appeared in his hands. After that, he tossed the purple saber into the dark storm in front of him. A dark, sharp blade then headed to the purple saber and sliced it into fine powder instantly. What a strong power! That saber is a top universe god-level chaos, unique treasure. However, it was destroyed instantly, with such frightening dark wind blades. Although my body is strong, if I were to be caught in between a few dark wind blades at the same time, I would probably not end up in a good state, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in admiration. It was no wonder that Lei Chao was trapped within the dark storm, and that he dared not walk around randomly. After all, the dark storm also posed a great threat to Almighties. However, although it was dangerous, in order to bring Lei Chao out, Jian Wushuang still walked into the dark storm. At a hidden void, which was deep inside the dark storm, there were 4 black-robed figures. Jian Wushuang has come. Since he has come, he shall not think of leaving this place alive. It's about time for Mo Ying to make a move. He's a top genius. However, it's a pity that he is about to die. The 4 black-robed figures were gasping at their location. However, the 4 faces under the black robes were not filled with sympathy at all. Instead, they were filled with cruelty and madness. In the dark storm, Jian Wushuang's right hand was holding his blood mountain sword, and he was walking forward slowly. His eyes were filled with vigilance. Puff! All of a sudden, a sound that sounded like the void being ripped open could be heard. Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank, and he swung the sword in his hands abruptly. A dark wind blade was repelled by Jian Wushuang's blood mountain sword head-on. Jian Wushuang did not stop moving, and he continued to walk forward. The dark storm was still considered very stable, and Jian Wushuang only needed to pay attention to the dark wind blades that appeared from his surroundings. As long as the dark wind blades were unable to touch him, he would not be in any danger. I wonder which part of the storm Lei Chao will be in, Jian Wushuang muttered. The dark storm had completely prevented him from using his soul power to check out the area. Hence, he did not know Lei Chao's current location, and he could only search slowly. However, what Jian Wushuang did not know was that at the same time, within the dark storm, a ghost-like figure was hidden not too far away from his back. The black-robed figure was like a ghost. Ever since Jian Wushuang had entered the dark storm, he had been following Jian Wushuang closely. However, from the start to the end, Jian Wushuang did not notice his existence. Under the black robe, a pair of dark green eyes, which had the will-o'-the-wisp dancing about them, were staring at Jian Wushuang, who was in front persistently. She had also suppressed the aura in her body to its maximum, and she was just like the air. She was waiting. She was waiting for the best opportunity to strike. Puff, puff, puff. All of a sudden, 3 soft sounds which broke the silence in the air could be heard from his surroundings. Jian Wushuang noticed them instantly, and with a wave of his hands, 3 sword essence struck the 3 dark wind blades, which were heading toward him with lightning speed. The 3 dark wind blades were dispersed instantly. However, at that moment, the time is now. The eyes of the black-robed figure who had been following Jian Wushuang closely while hiding herself extremely well glowed with a shrill light, and she floated over like a ghost. Her speed was too fast. When Jian Wushuang had only just swung his sword to get rid of the 3 dark wind blades which approached him, the ghost-like figure had already appeared behind him. At the same time, a cold dagger appeared in her hands, and the dagger headed toward Jian Wushuang's head abruptly. It was a speed that was faster than all the speeds in the universe. At that moment, the space and time seemed to have completely stopped. Only the extremely cold dagger remained in the whole universe. It was too fast. The person who attacked was definitely a top expert, who was proficient in assassination. Be it the opportunity to strike, the way of attacking, or speed, she was perfect in all of them. Although Jian Wushuang had been vigilant throughout, up until the moment that the ghost-like figure had appeared behind him and even attacked with her dagger, Jian Wushuang had still not reacted to it. Jian Wushuang, be careful! A cry which sounded like thunder echoed in Jian Wushuang's mind fiercely. Jian Wushuang's body trembled, and he was terrified. At that moment, all the pores on his body expanded quickly, and a special feeling appeared in Jian Wushuang's mind. Such a feeling was the feeling of life and death. He had felt the frightening feeling of danger which came from behind him. Although the frightening feeling of danger was not unprecedented, from the time that Jian Wushuang started training to present, he had felt it no more than 2 times. Jian Wushuang even had an illusion that he was about to die. He did his best to move his body in order to avoid the deadly blow behind him. Faster, faster, even faster, even faster. Jian Wushuang was roaring crazily in his mind, and he did his best to move himself as much as possible. After all, the more he moved, the higher the chance of him surviving. Die! At that moment, the ghost-like figure who launched a surprise attack abruptly did not hide herself any longer. Her shocking, murderous intent had completely locked on to Jian Wushuang, and the dagger in her hands, which was emitting an infinite amount of coldness, was getting closer and closer to Jian Wushuang's head. However, at that moment, all of a sudden, a gigantic tentacle came out from Jian Wushuang's back fiercely, and it struck the dagger with lightning speed straight away. As the dagger contained frightening power, it smashed the tentacle into pieces instantly. Moreover, it continued to head toward Jian Wushuang without any decrease in power. However, with the tentacle blocking for just an instant, Jian Wushuang had just managed to move his body. Swish! The dagger, which contained an infinite amount of murderous intent, brushed past Jian Wushuang's head, and the cold light which the dagger was emitting left a wound on Jian Wushuang's cheek, causing blood to flow out from it. Piss off! Jian Wushuang gave a loud cry, and the blood mountain sword in his hands released a shocking amount of power. It then attacked furiously like a huge mountain which was hundreds of millions Jian heavy. Chapter 1734, Coming After Me. Chapter 1734, Coming After Me. Retreat. The spiritual figure was very determined. He didn't hit his target, and he immediately retreated. He was a killer hidden in the dark, an assassin. He wasn't used to fighting head-on. Want to run? There was a billowing, murderous intention in Jian Wushuang's eyes. After the stroke failed to hit, there were immediately 2 rays of resplendent golden light that burst out. Hongjun golden swords were like comets. They flew through the void and appeared behind the spiritual figure, then instantly pierced the body of the spiritual figure. However, it didn't touch any substantial form when it pierced, and the spiritual figure vanished into thin air. Jian Wushuang looked around him and swept out his soul power, but he couldn't notice anyone. Such a brilliant hiding skill and assassination skill. Jian Wushuang clenched his hand as his face went solemn. It was obvious that the spiritual figure had been lurking behind him, but his soul power didn't notice him at all. His hiding skill was definitely very impressive. The assassination skill then really shocked Jian Wushuang. Ever since his cultivation, he had never seen such a terrifying assassination skill. Not only did he grasp the perfect timing, but also the dagger. The dagger was too terrifying. King of Venomous Worms, luckily you took action in time. Otherwise, Jian Wushuang had a lingering fear. He knew clearly that King of Venomous Worms had reminded him just in time, and the tentacle that extended behind his back simultaneously was from King of Venomous Worms as well. If it wasn't because of the tentacle that delayed for a moment, Jian Wushuang wouldn't be able to dodge the attack of the dagger in time. I just happened to wake up. Luckily, it was in time, King of Venomous Worms said in Jian Wushuang's head. He sighed with emotion as he spoke. The earlier scene had been too dangerous. If King of Venomous Worms had woken up any later, Jian Wushuang would have died. Oh, yeah, what was going on earlier? I could tell that he should be an almighty. Jian Wushuang, since when did you qualify for an almighty to assassinate you? King of Venomous Worms asked in surprise. When King of Venomous Worms had been asleep, Jian Wushuang had broken through and become a real god in ancient god's sanctuary. It wasn't long since then, but when he woke up again, he had seen an almighty trying to kill Jian Wushuang. What an honor for an almighty to assassinate him. During the time when you slept, I received some opportunities, and my power increased tremendously. Now, I have the fighting power of an almighty, Jian Wushuang said. Fighting power of an almighty? King of Venomous Worms was thrilled in excitement. Let's not talk about this first. My current situation is abnormal, Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. King of Venomous Worms had noticed the surrounding void and the terrifying dark storm. In addition to the ambush by the Almighty earlier, Jian Wushuang was obviously in a bad situation. What's going on? King of Venomous Worms asked. What happened was, Jian Wushuang briefly told it the ins and outs of the story. Previously, I had thought it was only an accident that Lei Chao had gotten trapped in Buddhist Demon Sea. But from what it seems now, I'm afraid that isn't so. Jian Wushuang looked solemn. He wasn't stupid. On the contrary, he had been through tough experiences and struggled to climb up in the ocean of blood. When he had found out the news that Lei Chao was trapped in Buddhist Demon Sea, Jian Wushuang had found it strange, but he didn't bother much. But then, after the assassination, Jian Wushuang finally understood. He was almost certain that it wasn't an accident, but a strategy meticulously plotted. And the person who framed him definitely wasn't Lei Chao. He was 80% only bait. Their true target was actually him. These people are specially coming after me. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. With such a meticulous plot, they could arrange an almighty for an assassination. On top of that, the almighty's assassination skill was so terrifying. It was obvious that he was trying to kill him. Jian Wushuang, when I was in a deep sleep, which experts did you offend? The enemy's strategy isn't ordinary. King of Venomous Worms' voice grew serious. In eternal chaotic world, there's only a great force that crossed paths with me and wanted me dead. It is Soaring Heaven King Palace. However, although Soaring Heaven King Palace is strong, it is impossible for them to be so liberal with their funds, nor is it possible for them to scheme against me in Buddhist Demon Sea. They don't have the capability, Jian Wushuang muttered. Although Soaring Heaven King Palace was strong, they didn't have that many almighties. Plus, everyone was aware of the danger in Buddhist Demon Sea. If Soaring Heaven King Palace were to scheme against Jian Wushuang, they wouldn't opt to within Buddhist Demon Sea. The risk was too high. As it wasn't Soaring Heaven King Palace, the one who had the ability and had the intention to do so would be the hidden force of eternal chaotic world. Acheron Palace. What happened today is 99% likely to be Acheron Palace's doing. Jian Wushuang's face grew distressed. Acheron Palace was known for its bad name. Jian Wushuang harbored scruples about Acheron Palace as well. Acheron Palace wouldn't take action hastily. If they did, it would be almost impossible for them to miss the target. Then, Acheron Palace had launched an attack at him, and it had been meticulously planned. They even used Lei Chao as the bait to lure him to Buddhist Demon Sea. Then, he was already in the trap that Acheron Palace set up. He was in a very bad place. King of Venomous Worms, as you completed your transformation and woke up, you should be able to help me, right? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course, a Plenilune's power is determined by the ancient god that it lives off. Due to your influence, my change is drastic, and my attack power can be put to use as well, King of Venomous Worms said. That's great. Jian Wushuang fixed his gaze. As Acheron Palace took action against me, they definitely did thorough research on me. They definitely know some of my trump cards, and they will have prepared accordingly. However, there are some trump cards that I have never shown anyone. These trump cards will be a crucial part of how I can escape this disaster. King of Venomous Worms, you are one of the trump cards I have now too. The two of us should fight against the people from Acheron Palace together. It's my honor, King of Venomous Worms replied. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and his gaze became sharp. He knew that he had fallen into the trap that Acheron Palace had plotted against him. As he was already there, it would be impossible for him to return by the same route. Even if he were to inform Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Gu Exian about his situation, Hall Master Gu Exian was quite far away from the Triangle Island that he was on. He couldn't be there in time to back him up on such short notice. Hall Master Yuan couldn't help either. He had no choice. He could only fight head-on with the people from Acheron Palace. He could only rely on himself. As for if it was life or death, that depended on his capability. Chapter 1735. Furious. Chapter 1735. Furious. At the hidden void in the dark storm. Swish. Ghost-like black-robed figures appeared silently. Hee, Mo-ing, I didn't think that you would fail. Moreover, your target is merely a real god. The 4 black-robed men, who were originally at that piece of void, looked over, and their eyes were filled with relish. Humph, if all of you have the talent, you can try assassinating him. I guarantee that the moment any of you approaches him, you will be discovered by him, Mo-ing said coldly. Ha! The 4 of us are not assassins, and we are not proficient in assassination. What we are proficient in is head-on extermination. Just look. Later on, you will know how Jian Wushuang was killed by the 4 of us, one of the black-robed men sneered. There's no rush. It's still not the time for the 4 of us to strike. Let's wait a while longer. The second wave of killing has not begun yet, another black-robed man said. I will be watching. The few of them waited at their location quietly. Within the dark storm, Jian Wushuang was walking forward slowly. After knowing that the Acheron Palace was trying to assassinate him this time around, he became even more vigilant to the point that his nerves became extremely tight. Swish, swish. Occasionally, some dark wind blades would rush toward him, but all of them would be dispersed by Jian Wushuang easily. To the current him, the dark wind blades were not considered a threat. The real threat was the danger that was hidden in the darkness. King of Venomous Worms, is the move that you unleashed really effective? Jian Wushuang was chatting with the King of Venomous Worms in his mind. Don't worry. This is the secret skill that only my Plenilune clan possesses. As long as someone approaches you, I will notice it straight away. However, the secret skill only covers a range of 1,000 meters, the King of Venomous Worms said. 1,000 meters is not too bad. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. The assassination moments ago had caused him to be terrified, and at that moment he was still extremely fearful. If that Almighty from before were to find another opportunity to attack him, Jian Wushuang had absolutely no confidence that he could avoid it again. However, the King of Venomous Worms had unleashed a secret skill which caused a special energy to cover 1,000-meter range around him. If such a kind of Almighty were to launch a surprise attack on him again, at the very least, he would have some time to prepare. At that moment, all of a sudden, Jian Wushuang raised his head. He had already seen a figure who was sitting on the ground with his legs crossed at the end of his line of vision. Lei Chao. Jian Wushuang revealed a delighted expression, and he walked over to the figure immediately. Jian Wushuang. Lei Chao, who had been sitting on the ground and did not dare to move about, also saw the arrival of Jian Wushuang, and he revealed a delighted expression at once. In no time, the 2 of them joined up with each other. Jian Wushuang, I did not expect you to really be able to find me. Lei Chao's eyes were filled with disbelief. I have exerted a great amount of effort to find you, Jian Wushuang laughed. However, his expression turned grave quickly. Lei Chao, the matter this time around is not normal. Oh. Lei Chao was stunned. Jian Wushuang gave a simple explanation of the ambush that he had encountered in the dark storm, as well as his own judgment. Damn it! Lei Chao clenched both his fists tightly, and his expression became unusually ugly. I have always felt that it was strange. When old freak Sui Gu was chasing me, he could have actually killed me. However, he did not do so. Back then, I still thought that he simply did not take advantage of the opportunity. However, looking at it now, Jian Wushuang, I'm sorry. I implicated you, Lei Chao said apologetically. No, the Acheron Palace's target is me, and they are trying to get rid of me. In actual fact, I am the one who got you involved in this, Jian Wushuang said. Indeed, if not for Jian Wushuang, the Acheron Palace would not put in so much effort and pay so much price to take action against Lei Chao. Moreover, Lei Chao would also not go into the Buddhist demon sea and get himself in danger. Let's not talk about this now. We have to quickly think of a way to get out of here, Lei Chao said. All right, Jian Wushuang nodded his head, and he had a grave expression. All of a sudden, Jian Wushuang, someone has come, the king of venomous worms' voice could be heard abruptly. Jian Wushuang realized instantly that a ghost-like figure had appeared behind him again. Moreover, it was that same dagger which was emitting a shocking amount of cold light. The dagger moved with lightning speed, and it headed toward Jian Wushuang's head again. Humph! Jian Wushuang gave a cold hum. This time around, he had taken precautions since a long time ago. He attacked straight away by swinging the Blood Mountain sword in his hands, which were filled with an infinite amount of sword essence. Clang! The Blood Mountain sword and the dagger clashed head-on, and a violent sound of blows being exchanged could be heard. The ghost-like figure, who had launched a surprise on Jian Wushuang, then retreated abruptly. Lei Chao, be careful! Jian Wushuang did not forget to remind Lei Chao. However, when he looked at Lei Chao again, his expression changed fiercely. Lei Chao had an extremely hideous face. His eyes, which were looking at Jian Wushuang, were also filled with a shocking amount of murderous intent. He had already extended his palms, and two flittering lights headed toward Jian Wushuang. As Jian Wushuang looked at the two flittering lights which were shot over, he recognized them. They were two god-destroying pearls. Back then, His Highness Mu Hong had almost destroyed the divine pond of absolute beginning by relying on the god-destroying pearl. Jian Wushuang was certain about the power of the god-destroying pearl. One of them was already extremely frightening. With two of them, they definitely had the ability to kill a Sir God. However, at that moment, the two god-destroying pearls were thrown over from Lei Chao's hands, and it was very clear it was thrown toward him. Ancient God's secret skill, 8 divine mountains. With a cry from Jian Wushuang, bang, 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 bang. Loud sounds could be heard repeatedly, and a 100,000-foot-tall golden divine mountains appeared out of thin air in front of Jian Wushuang again and again. A total of 8 golden divine mountains acted as a shield in front of Jian Wushuang. Explode! Lei Chao bellowed loudly, and the two god-destroying pearls exploded instantly. Boom! Boom! 2 deafening booms could be heard abruptly. The frightening power also spread across all directions and destroyed everything. The black storm, which was originally considered stable, became unusually violent due to the power generated from the attack. A great number of dark wind blades were blown about continuously, and this caused the void to collapse crazily. As for the 8 lofty golden divine mountains in front of Jian Wushuang, 7 of them had already collapsed, and even the 8th divine mountain was shaky and about to collapse. However, it still blocked the attack from the 2 god-destroying pearls forcefully in the end. Although the power was blocked, Jian Wushuang was not delighted in the slightest. Instead, he looked extremely glum. Lei Chao. Why? How is this possible? Jian Wushuang was roaring, and he was filled with anger. Lei Chao was an expert who was well respected by the people in the lineage of Star. He was a proud person, and he had contributed greatly to the lineage of Star. Moreover, when Jian Wushuang had only just arrived in the 10 sanctuaries back then, it had been Lei Chao who guided him personally. Furthermore, when Jian Wushuang was clearing the inverse cultivation test, Lei Chao had protected him quietly from the side. Hence, it could be said that Lei Chao had taken great care of Jian Wushuang. As such, after knowing that Lei Chao was in danger this time around, Jian Wushuang had rushed over to rescue him without any hesitation. However, the scene that had occurred in front of him was something that he had never expected. Chapter 1736, Soul Control. Chapter 1736, Soul Control. He didn't die. Lei Chao's face looked devastated as he stared at Jian Wushuang. You kept your guard up? Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold, and he remained silent. He had kept his guard up. It was a fundamental awareness after he knew that he had fallen into a trap. Plus, he had already found it a little strange previously. Firstly, according to Lei Chao, he had been chased after by old monster Sui Gu for a very long time. In the end, he had had no choice but to run into Buddhist demon C, but from the beginning till the end. No one saw the scene with their own eyes, only Lei Chao said so. Secondly, even if he was really chased after, Lei Chao shouldn't run so far onto the Triangle Island, which happened to be within the dark storm. One should know that it would be extremely difficult if Jian Wushuang wanted to escape the dark storm. After all, there was restraint of dark wind blade. When he thought about it carefully, something wasn't right. But Jian Wushuang didn't suspect Lei Chao. But then Lei Chao launched an attack at him. I want to know why, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Why? He. There was a burst of sudden cold laughter. The spiritual figure that had tried to assassinate Jian Wushuang twice appeared from nowhere next to Lei Chao. The spiritual figure lifted his head and revealed an extremely ugly yet cold face. It was a lady's face. Jian Wushuang, let me tell you why. It's simple. Because this Lei Chao isn't the Lei Chao from before, the ugly-looking lady said. Jian Wushuang's face changed. This Lei Chao wasn't the Lei Chao before. What does that mean? I understand now, King of Venomous Worms said. Jian Wushuang, if I'm not mistaken, Lei Chao should be soul-controlled. Soul control. Jian Wushuang stunned. Soul control is an extremely high-end technique to manipulate soul power. Under normal circumstances, only expert whose soul fire has transformed and become a complete soul and also focused on soul attacks would know how to perform this technique. Plus, such a technique requires one's soul strength to be higher by a few levels than the other party to succeed. For instance, Lei Chao was an expert on the real God ranking list, and he had at least lit his soul fire and gotten in contact with soul power. To perform soul control on such expert, the person who carried out the technique must have definitely already reached the level of Emperor God in terms of soul strength. King of Venomous Worms said, once a person is soul controlled, the person is pretty much dead. He is only left with a body. Their consciousness will obey the instructions of the controller unconditionally. Even if the controller wanted him to kill his wife and all his friends and family, he wouldn't hesitate at all. I see. Jian Wushuang's face grew in distress. He then looked at Lei Chao as his body quivered. He originally thought Lei Chao had betrayed him, but it seemed that it wasn't the truth. Lei Chao was soul-controlled, and he had to do something despite himself. King of Venomous Worms, can this soul control technique be removed? Jian Wushuang asked. There's no way to remove it. Soul control technique is extremely vicious and barbaric. Once one is controlled, he will never be able to shake it off. Even if you killed the person who performed the technique, the person who was soul-controlled would die too, King of Venomous Worms said. Jian Wushuang felt even more devastated when he heard that. It was obvious that Lei Chao had been soul-controlled, and Jian Wushuang had no way of saving him. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. He suppressed his fright and anger as he took out a token to send Hall Master Yuan a message. The context of the message was naturally Jian Wushuang's misfortune and his decision. After he sent the message, he put away the token. Then his gaze immediately went sharp and cold. He stole a glance at the ugly-looking lady. Acheron Palace has good skills. It seems like you're not stupid. The ugly-looking lady smiled. As you know that it is Acheron Palace who is doing this, you should understand that you stand no chance of living if Acheron Palace launches an attack. So, I advise you to kill yourself instead. Kill myself? Because of you alone. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. Hail all experts that Acheron Palace have arranged. You won't be able to kill me alone. Of course, the ugly-looking lady smiled maliciously, for if you should take over now. Just as she spoke. Ha ha. Young man, you're quite capable, I see. I never thought the four of us would have the opportunity to attack. A cold yet unbridled laughter spread in the dark storm. Then, figures in black robes appeared one after another from the nearby void. There was a total of 4 figures in black robes. Every single one of their auras were shocking. They hemmed Jian Wushuang in the moment they appeared. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold as he glared at the 4 people surrounding him. There were males and females among the 4 of them. Everyone brought about extraordinary pressure to Jian Wushuang. They were obviously out-and-out Sir God experts, and they weren't any ordinary Sir Gods. Besides, Jian Wushuang had never seen the 4 of them. Among the almighties that he knew, there weren't any similar ones too. 4 Sir Gods, also 4 top experts. In addition to the one who tried to assassinate me, there's a total of 5 Sir Gods. Acheron Palace does think highly of me. Jian Wushuang's voice was low. No choice. You are so potent, with such great potential. Even Acheron Palace has scruples. Hence, we naturally can't make any careless mistakes when we launch the attack, the ugly lady sneered. Jian Wushuang, you are really impressive. Mo Ying's assassination power. Not any one of us here could compare to her. Whoever she aims at won't stand a chance to stay alive. But you survived from her assassination. And the god-destroying pearl that Lei Chao threw, theoretically, it could kill you too. But you survived as well, a young man with ferocious features said with a deep voice. But that's good too. It gave the 4 of us a chance to attack. Everyone, let us have some fun with the genius today, the young man with ferocious features suggested. No problem. Hee, I will take good care of him. Don't kill him too soon, otherwise there's no fun. The few of them smiled savagely. Save the bullshit. Go ahead and kill him. According to the plan, you fight at close quarters while I am in charge of surprise attack, the ugly lady, Mo Ying, said. No problem. The 4 figures in black robes nodded their heads, and then the 5 figures moved simultaneously. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. There were 5 figures, and every single one was moving supernaturally fast, especially that ugly lady, Mo Ying. She disappeared from Jian Wushuang's sight entirely. A war instantly exploded.